I was talking to an old friend of mine today who recently lost her significant other. And one of the things that she said surprised her was how much the people who she expected to be there for her and her closest friends were not there at all, and it made her resentful. And that's something that I also went through, where you're going through this very hard time and the people who you expect to be there for you are not necessarily there for you in the way that you expect them to be. And one of the things that I told her was to give those people grace, because people don't know what to do or what to say when someone is going through the grief process. And they also don't want to say the wrong thing. So give them grace, because they may have the best intentions. They may want to be there for you, but they don't know how. And that's the one thing I wanted to say is, if someone you know is grieving, you don't have to say anything. You can just let the person know that, hey, I'm here for you whenever you're ready to talk. I'm here for you if you need a shoulder to cry on. Or you can just not say anything at all and just show them that you are there for them. So an example could be getting that person some groceries, or buying them dinner one day, or if you're close enough to them and if they have kids, offering that to take their kid to the park. Or there's so many different ways that you can show someone you are there without imposing on them or making them feel like they have to talk about it, or you're intruding on their grief process. I think one thing that nobody really talks about when it comes to grief, it's a very isolating process. You are often feeling alone, and you could have your whole family around, friends, all of that, but it's a very lonely process, especially when you are grieving a significant other. I think it's a very nuanced experience to have. Yes, there are people who they lose their parents, especially if you're young and you lose your parents. That's a horrible experience to go through, because you can never replace a parent. The same thing for a sibling. You can't replace your sibling. And I think losing a significant other is similar to losing a child, in the sense that when you have a child, there's so many dreams that you have for that child, so many expectations. You imagine a life for that child before the child is even here. Sometimes you think about that child and the family that child would have, grandkids, the life they'll live, the things that they'll accomplish. And I think similar to that is losing a significant other, because your identity is so much tied to that person. You have plans for your life together, whether that be having more kids together, or buying property, or moving, or whatever the case may be. There's so much of your identity that is tied to that person. Then when that person is no longer here, you feel like you have lost yourself. And I don't think that's so much something that you experience when you lose a parent or a sibling. I could be wrong, but that's just my outlook on it. It's just a very specific type of experience that unless you've been through it, you don't get it. You don't get how it feels to have everything you dreamed of and planned for just at a moment's notice just taken away from you. So yeah, I say all of that to say, if you are grieving, to give the people around you grace, because they don't know how to deal. They're doing the best they can to help you through the process, but they don't know how to go through the process themselves because they've never done it. And also, if you are that friend, to just show up. Just show up, listen, be there. You don't have to say anything specific, because nothing you say is going to make that person feel better or feel differently or have hope. It's just they have to go through the process of grieving. And I always see, I've heard this when I was in the midst of my grief. The only way out is through. You have to deal with the grief to get through the grief. And I was listening to a podcast today, and one of the things that really resonated with me that the person said, they said, you don't realize Jesus is all you need until Jesus is all you have. And sometimes with grief, as I said before, it's a very isolating process. And oftentimes you are by yourself, especially when it comes to night and everybody's gone. There's no one around. There's no family. It's a very isolating process. And you don't realize how much you need Jesus until Jesus is all you have. A very true statement. And it brings back to the point of why we're all here on earth. Like, we're all placed on this earth for God's glory. And I think a lot of times we're put in positions and situations that bring us closer to God and closer to our purpose. And if we can look at things in that light, I think it will give us better perspective. In the midst of it, you won't see it, but once you get a little beyond, you will start to see that, okay, this is what is really happening here. So yeah, give people grace if you're grieving, and if you know someone who's grieving, just be there for them.